Hello, New York City, while still asking Connecticut for help. Connecticut interbranched since before the World Trade Center attack, interbranched from my town, Wethersfield, Connecticut, where George Washington had to come right before the last battle of the Revolutionary War and had to leave slavery entrenched, sickly distinctly in the North and in the South, and here in Wethersfield, Connecticut. Even could only, obviously, then, therefore, semi-counter extort that which he had to meet here with the French general to gain the help and the leverage to win the Revolutionary War. Revolution is about nothing. War is a value nature system that is a fact-keeping nature illness, incapable of discerning the answers of how to counter negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures. Acts like predicate acts, natures like wrongdoers, wrongdoing on a mass scale. All motivation of nature rolls with it per breaching predicate acts delivery system method. Now this is not complicated. We have foreign and domestic nations. We are a species, identity of volume, individually grouped and together. Tactical ulterior from how we're supposed to be individual grouped and together. To discern what is going to be positive to individual grouping together. And when it is positive to that together, it is in that sequence individual first as value. The finite is delicate. This is what happens when you reveal free speech in science truly. What a Jim Crow law is about. It's not about true. It's about criminally foreign influence premises treatments, sequence treatments, identity treatments, time treatments, forever nature treatments. The value of that, of its value progression system, not the perfect world forsaken. We have the branches of each government, of each modern nation, of every semi-ancient nation before that. Victims in such a way that an archetypal organized crime method. I'm not a lawyer now, please form not a criminal. Excuse me. For example, the branches of government manifest because we need that. And we need to be able to talk about the good of that. That's all we're allowed to do, though. And only as if we're going to speak about it as criminal citizens, this is an attack that have been fabricating every modern nation. This has kept the outcome in such a way where the counters to each other are maintained self-valued, not maintained through what really needs to keep wars on things that will no identity of nation would value, but it's going to come through them. Uses of their identity as fact-keeping nature styles. Because we're in an identity of negative value nature progression, effectively maintained, self-valued, self-cultivated roles as fact-keeping nature styles, quality of fact-keeping nature, tactical ulterior from the one that the long words and the short words of our species are assaulted by here. Since before the World Trade Center attack, investigations, and vetting identities, regular people's opinions and convictions, and from former director of the FBI down, Robert Luskin, intermilitary. Now, see, everyone, they need to, what is really evident is how they have to make the same old convictions, use the same old sayings, leaving out the sequence shifts, leaving out what is actually recorded, leaving self-value. They have defenses of, like, what they call the FBI. They had a co-defendant in a case that was ongoing at the time of the plaintiff's death. And I forget for years. This is also leading up. These are people leading up to the World Trade Center from Connecticut into Branch, on off the Ninth Circuit Court next to the World Trade Center. They were proven post-dated documents had been presented to the panel judges right before that. Those same people associated with that, associated with a pattern of vertical roles with a vertical and horizontal involved, database relationships involvements, as fact, treatment, nature, predicate acts. America never stopped being about this predicate act delivery system method. Value nature systems, tactical area from the one that we are really instantaneously capable of. Short-term, long-term, while our fact treatment nature short-term is, for example, my short words. I asked to report specific things online. They're lying about me. Because they've been inter-branch uses, they're located, they put me in fake words. Their roles with locations crimes because they've been fabricating audio and video into cases already. Using time treatments to assure the wrong outcomes. Even when the right outcomes, they're locking in further their roles with this. And as this, manifest as pretending needing to pretend other. Where these are fact-treating nature roles with it. Grouped too. Not just the executive branch as victim predators, not just the judicial branch as victim predators, individually crime methods pretending other, originally still, but grouped. And that is used remotely in relationship to how we have all these other nations recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, also involved with this. All investigations, investigators, and vetting identities, opinions and convictions, recorded originally and still interscience is abridged, tactically abridged and that's self-valued as identities that can't afford logic's free speech with no physical delusions and criminally and foreign influence premises treatments, time treatments, while they are not preventing mandated law. Uses of words / values like data, knowingly, pretending they don't realize, and sickly not really realizing how many ways that database illusion stacking could and does take place. And but with involvements with much worse, with all locations. This is really what keeps the overt criminal enterprises recorded, how motivated to need to hide the same sequence shifts, tied illusions, acting, finite lies, active lies, progressive lies, identity lies, offensively having to pretend to be against such. Pretending to care about, pretending offensively opinions and backgrounds about things like friendships and things like that, with people that we only know because they time where we're going to walk, and people that we don't know at all that they've been pretending other into databases, into branch, fabricating audio and video, attach me with a fake conversation, fake words, put me in quotes. With the older Menendez police brothers, not just that. Then on off the Wethersfield Police Department and on off the New Britain Superior Court, their inclusion. Well, not just that. And not just them, also on off Fox Connecticut News. Involved with the pattern of since before the World Trade Center attack. I asked people for help regarding what I found out later was Harvard courts and New Britain courts. Involved with locations, predicate acts delivery system method roles as victim predators, all along routes and highways, like in West Hartford, New Britain, associated with confessions from people when I was in high school. I don't know, but I know they were used remotely by people associated on and off the Connecticut State Judicial Branch offices, with the Firenze family, and with a whole bunch of people on and off Two Rod Highway, associated with the Dillon family, and with the Phil Collo, that Bob Chase said was associated. I didn't get to see this police report. Then they gave me another fake police report that involved this Mendez police. These are also with the Yagnan family, through time involved with identity thefts with them, and with the Leahy family, involved with, as doctors of drugs, supposed to be against drugs, they're involved with drugs with the kids, attaching people to fake things in databases, fake locations, fake words. That whole fake conversation, I never had one word of conversation with them. One word. I said to the guy, so he would leave me alone after. I said yes. If he asked me if I wanted a thing, I just wanted to look at it. I didn't even use it. What is it called? A smoking patch. So there's a Leahy family, though. There are a whole bunch of people involved with them, interbranch, prosecutors. They involve their kids and stuff like that. These are verbal predicate acts. But then it's much worse. These are people who've been using the right to lie through criminal foreign influence with them. And with that having been used, that's how they're used remotely. A former director of the FBI down. Federal criminals associated with him with relevant cases in time frames like right before 2006 District Court case in Connecticut, associated with people on and off Fox Connecticut News. There's also a Casper family that people have been making confessions to me for years. I don't know them. I never had a class with them. I know them. One time he involved with sequence shifts, and with some other person made confession. I never had a cop respond to it. These are people all along Route 3 involved through time with worse than identity thefts, frauds. They also have how they use black and white involved with this, which is preventing little kids from using the logic to demonstrate why and how we don't have freedom originally instilled. That's our subject. That's what American history is about. What it needs to pretend it didn't realize that offensively has been, and it is, doing that to all locations. And this is relevant to their statistics and roles with such. This is also with their family members. In other words, we have the sciences tactically abridged all victim predators. So we're going to have to heal the human value nature system. That's what the species coach is about. It only feels like game. There's no game. It'll change. So each city should begin, of the entire species, with the pamphlets to be owned by what everyone knows will evolve, and half to reactions to what is forced, negative value nature progressions, acts, natures that we need to force reaction to, but as a new nature of reaction to it. In other words, counterposition to it, not reaction. A new liberation of a fact nature response to it. As I'm going to show you the power of and the might of, when coupled together, of the identity of value progression. Value/value progression, that inventions work or not in relationship to their further positive or not in relationship to it. So everyone of the species volume agrees. If there's a plan that they could see and fathom, know it's going to work, why would, we're going to claim bottom unacceptable. And we're going to claim what is not, every place tactically denatured, even we're not overtly tactically denatured. You think these natures of soil and means to their own identity of value progression, where we reveal the seeds that are today. Hear many pray. We are in an identity of negative value nature progression that is semi-ancient since before modern religions, greatly about this with parts in ways that themselves demonstrably having known that the religious books would be preserved by identities, by identity ground relationships, like just like everyone else, all individually grouped together, including company. No one wants to speak bad about companies, about people. But they offensively take positions, pretend that, mix opinions and convictions, physical delusion that take collusion with sequence shift styles, as simultaneous nature, as identity theft styles. I'm asking same people pretending to be against it. If there's online scams, how many people have to, you're born, okay, now you have to know a computer. You have to know all these things and forget about the past, because this is the way it is now, because we have to conform to the computer. And so they're going to teach the kids the technology keeps going, changing. Everything is about this space/existence, rather. Space/existence, this trinity. That slash is a gaining identity of volume 2. And with two identities of invisible but still discernible identities of sequence/simultaneous nature, with that, they are demonstrable, my doctor, they're demonstrable observably, manifest there as the relationship that as all that is observable there, with the cell nucleus, the cell body, and the cell wall, /S. They share 5 bonded /1/3/5 bonded identities of sequence/simultaneous nature. And the way that is exception, and that is an exception, and that is exception nature. How it is 5 semi-natures. And how science reveals is in demonstration of how it will only be and stay 3 as one identity of volume. Its identity of volume, relationship to itself, and the value of that. Its identity of relationship to itself is what reveals evolution's fruits and gifts and means are nowhere per it being the phenomena of /as the perfect value nature system. Only increasingly. Its identity of volume. The body of the identity of the body of forever. At least. Per science. Per the syntax. Also, we'll examine. Alpha and Omega were revealed by the ancients to teach. So watch a YouTube video on for homework assignment. New York City and Hartford, and all the cities of the world and of America, and prepare the pamphlets. So if you know that these are not our human means, and that you have to figure out what to I'm not saying make excuses in life. I'm saying this is real though. We have to admit, which is the first part of revealing injunctive reliefs. We don't have to be lawyers to be able to. In fact, it is recorded evidence that and how lawyers originally instilled are in collusion with the identity theft, frauds, and racketeering roles that interbranch and all private tied to them are maintained, roles with to stay perpetually used remotely, fake sides. And where that is not true, that is maintained, constantly strained, constantly liberated only simultaneously per the needs of this, which was sophistication before anyone. That which sickly, again, had slavery sickly distinctly in the North and the South and the parts of it, specifically just to keep house sickly non-distinctly from being discerned. Not one has learned. So while it was engineering, fact-cheaping nature styles, needs for the same sequence shifts, finite lies, active lies, progressive lies, identity thefts, frauds, and worse than war crimes, self-value, natures of identities of victims that are propagated, styles blaming other things other than themselves for it, wrongly. So, one thing, no matter who you are native pure by this system. See, but we can't even speak about Native American rights. Everyone's blaming other people. Everyone's perception is contained. No one has trained for speech. So I was me and people tied to me. And people not tied to me, people pretended tied to me, are attached to fake locations, fake words, leading up to the World Trade Center and every year since. Now these are people, this shows that, nothing, we have all the people, they had to have lipoaggressions onto campuses. That's how they have roles with juxtaposed natures of child abuses and recorded roles with methods, self-valuing how they have the types of people and interests, all with the same needs to hide the same fact-cheaping nature style, use other people's names, roles with the sequence shifts, identity theft, frauds, all kinds of natures of medicine crimes and drugs crimes, and overt criminal enterprises and private ones, involved also with campuses of every age and nature, including medical campuses. Now these are also foreign and domestic families recorded involved with readings of statutes that with uses of criminally foreign influence premises treatments, sequence treatments, identity treatments, and while simultaneously covering up their roles as victims, but say everyone speaking through others. They need to have disputes because of the roles and what is actually recorded shows how every hundreds of nations at once, how they are used remotely. The position, all positions of identities of jobs and titles, of industries, A through Z, A1 through Z, however many there are. Criminally foreign influence and delusions wrought with premises treatments, convictions and opinions by what is required per the nature of such jobs and per such impositions upon themselves, individually grouped together. That originally, still not by accident, no one was blaming on things properly. So they had to all simultaneously pretend, oh, that's what you're doing. They make overall convictions against people while preventing us the short words of counters to them attaching us to fake words in fake places. Because in fake arresting officers interest the whole bunch of departments at once. This is not just former director of the FBI. There were a whole bunch of other ways FBI people and stuff like that have involvements with federal criminals, with involvements with kids that were in classes I had. That, in other words, people with a union and stuff like that. I had a daughter and people I did that were in my class. You know, they have the word class as the class, people your same age group. But you never see them. They had that leveraged. All exceptions involved with identity theft, frauds, sequence shifts, leading up to the World Trade Center attack, and since, as roles with a vertical and horizontal organized crime method with the databases. But where it is horizontal, that is to describe how they have lie progressions leveraged against all locations, all positions, every individual, A1 through Z, however many people are, named Z, leveraged against the correlation natures, actually inherent active and progressive means, and with sequence true. So since before the World Trade Center, offensively, intercities police forms, interbranch, and a bunch of police forms. There is even a woman, real or made up, involved with the extortion and the slander, libel, and worse, child abuses, elderly abuses, that the branches of government are recorded and involved with. And with the cover-ups of that, which is simultaneously used to keep prostrate our means for peaceful counters to what every modern nation has to counter, that is in layers. Again, with where and how we have a fact-cheaping nature illness of styles with physics. See, that one identity that will only stay positive unto itself. It has the needs we'll examine. So follow mandated law, so they have the branches of government grouped crime methods at the same time. And they have the word said and communication. They have word / value like said and like communications. Excuse me. Have them involved with the verbal predicate acts delivery system method that the judicial branch and that the executive branch have together as wire crime methods, because these are also, their methods involve private. They also involve overt criminal enterprises and foreign and domestic military. Now they also involve identity ground locations, like next to schools. There's a Justin Klavinskis. I don't know his brother's name. I never met him. I don't know his parents' name. I never met them. But he's recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. See, they brought up people from the past that I barely know them. And I know they're involved with sequence shifts and with people I don't know at all, like a Joshua Julian, people tied to him, who is involved with a house is on my street, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. Also by a Cololo family years ago. Repeated his name. I don't know his name. So there's a Sullivan who didn't give his whole name, who's involved with also a Dillon family. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with town offices with them. And people tied to them recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with interbranch offices with foreign and domestic collusion, intercities, from Wethersfield. And it has something to do with the places around the Wethersfield Library. And now these are the interbranch forging names, switching names, so they could use all private tied to them like prisons to hide their... Now, they also motivated to this per the rules of the predicate acts on-off child campuses, on-off CCSU through decades, through lifetimes. Now there's a D. Simone family that used to live here. I don't know, you guys, if it was a misunderstanding or something like that. But there's a guy from Hartford Hospital who also said that you guys were involved. They brought up your name. I don't know the way they did that. These are people involved with forging names, switching names, attaching me to fake words at all. And with a Leahy family, they put a whole detailed conversations with and about legal cases with their family members, friends and cliques are involved as strangers that I only know through confessions and through actually recorded predicate acts rolls they have with them. Interbranch. Dozens of people from the Britain Superior Court. This is from Wethersfield, Connecticut, though. Interbranch, intercities. And they've been hiding their live progressions per their uses of everyone speaking through other, which is connected to the confessions they made about that Central Connecticut State University, involved with military people and with medical families. Now WFSB also attached me and my family member to fake words, fake relationships to doctors. Under oath, I never had a doctor when I was a kid, and diagnosis and stuff like that, as they said. Now these are people involved with wire crime method that already kept and keeps every interstate, all locations, areas, and states. FBI, for example, other agencies, uses of their identities in relationship to the vetting of information from regular citizens like myself. No, but connected to the what is actually recorded. Predicate acts delivery system method roles that Connecticut intercities on off their own locations, on off database connected groups from off those positions maintain collusion with juxtaposed natures of organized crime, but also worse from there, because then they have to hide live progressions, have to hide from correlation nature simultaneously inherent active and progressive means. And these are simultaneously 5 distinct but non-distinct identities of positive that are simultaneously semi-nature 2 ways. Negative value nature as sequence nature alone, and positive that will only stay positive unto itself as positive value nature. And negative will only stay positive unto itself. Exceptions in exception nature are what Leith of Hadith is more probably about. You could look online to learn about Leith of Hadith. But they left out the self-value, the criminally foreign influence database relationships, in fact, cheaping nature styles relativity. There is an identity of relativity that, again, inventions work or not in relationship to, they are further positive or not in relationship to it. A criminal insidiousness nature could deny. So, for example, in relationship to opinions regarding Jim Crow laws, just one little part of slavery, which is against our founding parents too, if you follow in other videos. We're not separating their fact-cheating nature, slavery, torture, and forced words from and we're not separating that and how people were hurt worse than that. And how the identity, the ground locations, their identity, its identity of relationship to itself, and its means to itself, as itself, in relationship to the perfect value, the one that inventions working out for the positive and not further evolution's fruits and gifts means from nowhere. So this is what the pamphleteer game is about. So someone just has to say this is the pamphleteer game, and if we follow it, then we're gonna each city is gonna make the cheapest way, the little business, the spot to hold, value and to give value, to reveal means from nowhere. But we have to admit simultaneously while we're mean stacking. So, and one of the ways we can really do it is by helping bring release to other ways. So now we can take the consumed time of the victims, where they're kept victim predators, political people. We could take them off of time of having to hear about and things that it shouldn't even be, too. By relieving things. Well, then these people have no jobs. See, we have employments. We have a value nature systems tactically ulterior from the one that the surface values of the Constitution, valued simultaneously, are about. Nothing else is about America truly, and we have not heard this speech. A criminal insidious nature is demonstrably going to value and need to pretend to be about positive, distinctly from someone with no criminal foreign influence premises treatments, agenda. But more importantly, is the premises treatments, the quality of fact treatment nature. See, there's a criminal insidious nature of positive self-value as the stolen identities of our founders, who left us points of correlation that revealed they wanted us to explain how they didn't have free speech, they had words forced. There's an identity of the ground tied to our fact-treatment nature as the identity of volume /S. I tell it best boxings. It tells us things. This is why I want to be a boxer the most. I want to explain. It's just so simple. I thought it was just because of the when I was in grammar school, distinctly and non-distinctly and simultaneously, the same people are associated with confessions in all the schools, distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously, and demonstrations of how interbranch family members and about how overt criminal enterprises in other nations, family members, and cliques are involved with a vertical and horizontal database organized crime method as victim predators and identity theft, frauds, and worse than war crimes method that is a predicate acts delivery system method that is completely fact-treatment nature oriented, but in such a way that already propagated it way beyond that. It sustained, self-valued, the real causes of negative value nature progression. Self-valued as an identity of negative value nature progression. Humanity is an identity of negative value nature progression. That's why we're going to space. Boxing. So, in other words, we're in an identity of negative value nature progression. Its system brings means out of nowhere to adapt too. We have to do it on time. We can afford all this stuff instantly because we could alleviate all the time in the nature of the subjects before the politicians in hundreds of nations at once, by admitting at once simultaneously on the same page that and how this is not the fault of anyone, so we're going to take a step out of it, and we're going to do this too, noting this is a tactically denatured native identity of the ground, value/value progression system, in relationship to simultaneously victims in reaction to all what caused this. Simultaneously had the value roles with abridged sciences, had the value roles further and further propagated as the quality of fact treatment nature grounded, conviction nature, sequence treatment nature, uses of other people's names. Oh, they don't have a title. Oh, I don't like them, they're not nice. If you stay nice, that's not going to help you. If they're just stacking more names that have of making opinions, and then having to further and further attach me to fake words, attach other people to fake words, fake locations, every year of my life, too. Not just mine. Every year is everybody's life. You're going to see all kinds of roles with all kinds of evil that everyone kept with all the cases that came already. They're stuck. They painted themselves into corners. Metaphorically, with fact treatment nature oriented, evidence oriented, predicate acts delivery system method roles. Every modern nation's locations, areas, and states. Identities of the sciences individually grouped and together stewards. This is a vertical and horizontal database organized crime method that kept that to keep it worse, from only capable of valuing each location's, each identity of age's value system itself, the tactically nature, hurt. The cause of it blamed on other things, other selves. This is the path out of it for this individual, for this group, for these people, for everyone. Identity of the negative value nature progression, humanity. Individually grouped together, tactically ulterior from the system of free speech was about the liberation of, which has yet to come. The short words and the long words of our species are prevented by that which is still interbranch, only capable of stealing, because they're reliant upon pretending that, the crime method of pretending that they don't realize that experts, there's only 3 branches of government. Experts tied to them, where they have to make overall assertions about people's integrity. They have statutes that tell them to trust these people over these people. Trust these doctors because they're mental doctors. Meanwhile, they broke the exceptions of the law. They know that. They fabricate whole fake conversations. They make whole fake evidences outside of cases, leading up to the World Trade Center, leading up to 2006 district court case, leading up to a whole bunch of, in a whole bunch of those cases, in other ones, tied, all of them, too. But on off Hartford courts and the Britain's courts, they demonstrated confirmation of after the World Trade Center attack, their roles were confirmed. Also, before the World Trade Center attack, with investigators and vetting identities that are involved with foreign and domestic nations on off Central Connecticut State University, Also in such ways where they have collusion with overt criminal enterprises and private ones and sick people on and off campuses that are intercities connected to them and to other campuses. This is also with the military and uses of all child programs. All identity ground locations, features, details. So there are mayors, they have the whole mayoral system and things like that. And they have the crime method of pretending people that make conspiracy theories rather than having response to their wire crime methods where they put fake audio and video. These are also people that tied to AT&T, that per Chris Walters, involved with the judges and police forms and private school kids that are involved with predicate acts on and off my campus as victims. You know, but that also associated with affidavits associated with a Dillon family that is involved with my new and past neighbors. And with Officer Sullivan, who just called here, involved with sequence shifts, and with this guy named, there are people involved with forensics locations, involved with him in a Cololo family. But they're not giving their switching names, forged names, and with dozens of people from the Britain Superior Court, prosecutors, state's attorneys, people associated with Washington, D.C., World Trade Center, tied to them, and their roles intercities from New Britain, Hartford, and Wethersfield into Branch through time, and then leading up to the Trade Center, like from 2000, around then, and since, as the ones roles from intercities, intercampuses, interprivate database relationships, then rolls with it in the Trade Center attack context. Roles with the group /S that associated with former director of the FBI as their co-defendant in a 2006 district court case. Also right before that, Thaddeus Skrobowski was recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, and roles with people on and off Fox Connecticut News and buildings next to them. Involved with investigations, investigators, and vetting identities. You in collusion with organized crime against every people on a mass scale, including myself. So now, they use this crime method here and there, hundreds of nations at once, where they pretend people make conspiracy theories by preventing us from reporting sequence shifts, by offensively pretend we had tried to report things by having conversations with themselves and with the private tie to them into Branch. In the interbranch with the crime methods individually and groups of fabricating audio and video, of uses of criminally foreign influence statutes and readings of them as crime method rules used remotely, because then they have to hide that. Is an outcome that is maintained by that breaching method that was sophistication here. That permitted only fake sophistication that our founding parents demonstrably, actually, per science, need us to explain, was prevented by a predicate acts delivery system method. This one I've detailed to you. So this is how to think. We're going to be led by what is truth, but that does not deny the slightest exception, nor does it deny exception nature, nor does it value that having been denied and being denied. So, it's one thing to focus on one subject, which, note, my so short words are prevented. I should be able to report those predicate acts. The more I say that, the more they use the criminally foreign influence readings of the statutes. So I'll put a link to a summary judgment trial believe this is where I saw this man speaking about reading statutes. Now, because these are people involved with a woman from, I don't know if they know her. There's a woman from Hartford Hospital. I don't know if she was a doctor or a nurse, but she repeated that to me and others that she was Russian. Now these are also people associated with Hartford Hospital, involved with military, with medicine crimes, and juxtaposed as child abuse roles and elderly abuse roles. My last video, Elderly Powers Act, is no joke. It only feels like games. Evolution science. But so we're in a tactical ulterior value nature system, self-value, where and how that can't be self-valued in the short words that our founding parents wanted us to be able to have and make and use. You know, we have to have them defended. Obviously, the science is the science to discern the breaching predicate acts delivery system method. We have to contemplate and we have to observe, ordered for us, the breaching method laws against what we're forcing people to speak positive as criminal and serious in nature, positive and negative as fact, even to blame on other things other than themselves, even when correctly. When they want to say England, but they left out how England was all locations, areas, and states. All sciences criminally foreign influenced. Individually grouped and together. Victims would have to blame other things other than themselves for the real causes of predicate acts as the only identities of the law. Real causes of criminal and serious nature as the only identities of the law. As that. Need to pretend other. Uses of their locations to fabricate audio and video. How to think is by using the truth. That identity of truth that is true always, as exceptions at the same time. As exception nature at the same time. That identity inventions work or not in relationship to. That identity inventions are further positive or not in relationship to. Or that identity the Santa Claus is about. Fruits and gifts and means of evolution. For evolution's fruits and gifts. And Santa's means from nowhere. Gifts. So just admitting and preparing to do it not with countering an enemy. But countering pseudoscience by using how mandated law was prevented and is prevented. And then when originally instilled, when those courts and those police forms as victims reacted wrongly, then they had to hide that from correlation nature. They had to value correlation nature hurt. All locations right there at not by accident. This was sophistication here. This was sophistication there. That's why it was so sickly distinctly how they hurt people because of the pigment of their skin. To keep how sickly non-distinctly from being discerned. To keep engineered other natures of motivations, needs, interests, blaming other things other than themselves, even when correctly, blaming wrongly. Then defending what? Defending manifest. Defending self-cultivating. Fact-cheaping nature styles propagated specifically to keep the words of our founding parents from being known to us, from being realized, from being connected, correlated, from being valued. That has to pretend other. Each identity of the ground location distinctly, not distinctly, and simultaneously. This is a fact-shaping nature. This is an identity nature oriented. Fact-shaping nature illness. We're the identity of positive. The identity of distinction. The identity of exceptions and of exception nature. As exception. As all exceptions. We're not supposed to agree about the name of this. But we have to individually group them together in relationship to exceptions and exception nature. See, but we have such proofs to ourselves that are overt and simultaneous. We have them juxtaposed with the same old ulterior motivations, nature's needs, interests. Per uses of each age of correlation nature, simultaneously in inherent, active, and progressive means, self-value, to collusion with the identity of sciences, criminally foreign influence and delusions wrought, again with the branches and with private tied to them also, further and further, not by accident, to those locations needing correlation nature, needing fact-shaping nature, styles, opinions, convictions, incapable of defending themselves, and of realizing relief from and means to countering the real causes of negative value nature progressions and their acts and natures upon each. So one must teach. Free speech. WFSB, please fix the fake news and respond to or respond to my thing. Just say sorry to the people that and how you attach me to fake words and people I know to fake words, fake locations, fake ties to others, because you also did that with interbranch family members and their uses of their own family members because of their methods with pretending passions and emotions in relationship to such, because they've already involved with predicate acts, identity thefts, frauds, all kinds of fabricated audio and video in cases relevant, leading up to the World Trade Center attack and since. Connecticut has cases that was rolls with illusions stacking through time. Rolls with the programs in Washington, D.C., and with the World Trade Center that are all along that route, all along that road, Church Street, houses on Church Street. Sought me out, I barely know them. And only through confessions. So they have sustained confessions that are involved with uses of what they can't go back and real. In other words, they have to pretend that where they're using friendship, words like friendship, criminally. They have to pretend all kinds of illusions, the branch of government individually grouped them together. So they have a Sullivan, they didn't give his full name. But there are various natures of courts and their family members involved with the Sullivan that has to be counted at the same time. Because they've been fabricating audio and video with these Wethersfield police, Mendez police. There's also a Bob Chase who recorded, confessed, and demonstrated of Phil Cololo involved with them. Also with, these people all along Route 3, all along that route that goes from Church Street and Old Wethersfield. Then it goes to the corner of that and Main Street. It goes from there through cities to Central Connecticut State University. On and off Central Connecticut State University, Paul Manafort Drive. Recorded are involved with Wethersfield intercities, interbranch, intermilitary, roles with intercampuses. Also kept collusion with intercampuses, vertical and horizontal predicate acts delivery system method roles. identity thefts, frauds, rules. Prevention of free speech, they just steal our